patience. It is now 6:40 on June 15th. Start the regular school board meeting. Call this order. Start Pledge of Allegiance.
Flag of war.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any emergency revisions to the agenda?
There should be no revisions.
I can move to approval of minutes. Start with May 19th exec session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Eckroat, second by Mr. Finnegan. All in favor? Motion passes 4-0 with Mr. Deardorff and Ms. Sturge or Mrs. Sturge not present. Approval minutes for the May 19th regular session. So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hudson, second by Mrs. Eckroat. All in favor? Motion passes 4-0. We'll approve the minutes of the June 1st work session.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Finnegan, second by Mr. Working. All in favor? Motion passes. Approval minutes for the June 8th exec session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Eckroat, second by Mr. Finnegan. All in favor? Motion passes. Approval minutes, June 9th. So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hudson, second by Ms. Working. All in favor? Motion passes. Move to approval of claims.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Working, second by Mr. Hudson. All in favor? Motion passes. No programs this month. Public comment. The board's goal for the public comment is to hear your concerns, comments, and opinions. This is the business meeting held in public, not a public hearing. The board will actively listen to gather information, but it is not a question and answer session. We ask each person who speaks to limit their comments to 3 minutes or less. Do we have anybody that'd like to speak? Moving on, nothing for strategic plan this month. Move on to staff report.
Yeah, I'll start with the corp report. I just want to send a big thank you. We were able to wrap up the school year on June. It was kind of hard to believe June 1 this year. Had a special thanks to, he wasn't able to make it, but Rich Robbins with his retirement. I want to publicly acknowledge him here this evening as well. But Rich dedicated decades to this district, and we recognize his retirement. Grace, Christina, staff, our senior sponsors, graduation went off without a hitch on the 7th, and multiple speeches, multiple songs, but it was a good graduation for the class of 2026, and summer is underway. We are meeting here this evening due to utility repair not always going as planned. So 4-inch water line didn't want to go back together correctly, so we are waiting on part. Hopefully the QPH will get it here tomorrow, and we can get our AC and restroom, and then the high school and the admin will both have a waiting period. Anytime we shut the water off, it has to be tested. So it'll be a couple days before we get things back up, but just maybe a day later than originally planned. So, so Danielle, thanks for helping get things set up over here this evening. And yeah, looking forward to summer. As you're aware, we're in transition here. Principals have been busy hiring, interviewing, and so we'll have some names. There'll be some names I know coming in July for hopefully all the positions that we have open. I know they're working on it. So that's my corp report. I'll turn it over to Danielle to share about the elementary.
Just finished up Irie Summer School last Friday, so waiting for ready. We'll reopen Monday, July 27th. Like Kenny said, I have a RISE teacher and a 4th grade teacher I am going to be hiring, so getting ready to interview for that. And then really, the last thing for tonight is that we are gonna have the new kindergarten through 2nd grade math screener, the universal screener of number sense. I had a meeting with the rep, and so we have everything set up. I have the materials, and so I'm gonna be putting all the materials together for teachers over the summer. And once we get everybody registered, then we will have virtual training that I'll send out to the staff. So we'll have that ready for fall. And then we're setting up PDs for our new teachers for Project Lead the Way training. Lots of trainings coming like that first week of August too. That's it.
Carice, high school?
So middle high school, as Kenny had mentioned, we got through graduation, so ended up being a really great day, really hot in the gym, I will say. But we also have summer school underway. We have a number of students that are coming in every week and getting that facilitated to them by Carrie Wan, who's doing our summer school. We have a number of students who are taking ID Tech classes over the summer, and that was facilitated through guidance and then our partnership with ID Tech. This past weekend, our boys baseball team competed at semi-state, and it was a beautiful day. Unfortunately, it didn't work out the way that we wanted, but they got down real early in the game, and they made a really great effort to come back. But it wasn't our day that day, but they did a fantastic job, kept positive spirits, so it's a good thing to see from our program and for athletics. But that was the last athletics program to complete for this school year. We've had summer weights with good numbers. They run Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Numbers were really good for that. As mentioned, we're going to be doing some hiring, so doing some interviews for teaching positions. We are filling a math position at the high school and RISE position, and then we got two para positions that we need to fill. So very optimistic that we'll have those ready for the July board meeting.
Any questions? Move on to fund monitoring report, Serena?
So this is our fund monitoring report for the end of May. Our education fund is coming around like we had anticipated or hoped that it would. I think I shared last month our May and June payments are shorted some money in the basic tuition support part of that due to the reduction that we had in students in our second count. So we'll continue to get a little less money next month, but we've definitely closed that gap. So we're still spending more than we're bringing in, but not by a very large margin compared to where we were last year, which is really, really good news. Our operations fund, we're waiting on property tax settlement to come in. We've gotten the two smaller parts of the money that we get from the local government for those, the CVET and the financial institution tax. So we're waiting on excise and property tax that are due to us by statute by the end of June. And I did reach out to them today to make sure we were on pace with that and haven't heard back. So that fund will look completely different at the end of the month. Right now it's negative, much different from last year, but we did a $600,000 tax anticipation loan this time. So if you would take that out, we'd be real close to where we were this time last year. Nothing, we haven't really done projects or anything out of that. This is just what it takes to keep us running for 6 months in that fund between transportation, all of our utilities, maintenance, custodians, our office, all that good stuff. Debt service, all those payments for the first half will be paid at the end of June, which lines up with that property tax settlement. So they'll get that money in June, and we'll pay out our first half payments on the debt that we have. School lunch got the end of the year for students moved over there for what they actually spent. And, you know, they're looking real close, they're a little ahead, but we've still got some May payrolls to run that we'll pay in June, and we'll pay all of her supply bills for things that she purchased in May yet in June. So we'll get a little bit more money from the state, but not a lot more. So that one's just running real close. Our goal in that one was just to make it even, if not just a smidge ahead. So I think we're gonna be just a little behind or real close to that, in the lunch fund. And then rainy day remains unchanged, as well as the 2 bonds. We had a little bit of interest go into 1 bond, but other than that, the bonds are not changed.
Any questions? Move on to old business. The football field lighting update. Any discussions or we?
On that contingency, it says, if needed, then I'll add it to it. But we're only approving the $114,000.
There's 2 separate items is the way it was pushed out in the agenda. So the first one is what we brought to the table last month, just the original lighting quote. Then item B is the contingency for the uplighting of 14,000. So I think we just to take 2 separate.
31,000.
14,160 is what that is.
What I'm getting at is, do we, used to be without board approval is $5,000 or more, or less. Then they don't need board approval, correct? So if this contingency goes over whatever 14 minus 31 is, then what?
Oh, like the contingency funds? Yeah, I mean, they,
And they use the word contingency, but that's not what this is. The quote of things in contingency in that quote were additional items that are elective. So their price is $114 to do the project. There's no contingency hold on that. And then that 31,000 is 2 or 3 separate kind of add-ons. Like they should have called that additional items or additional expenses. Those are your choices, not contingency.
for
So-
example, yeah, another one, for example, were controls. You know, we're just keeping the same switches, but one of the quotes he gave us was to put this, you know, fancy controls, and we didn't bring that.
That's in the contingency.
Yeah.
Kenny, what is the, life of these lights? Did they say how long they should last?
In the write-up, actually, I can find out here for you. We've got a good, the poles are in good shape. I mean, we're not replacing the poles, so, he's getting back with me here right now. He says around 70,000 hours of usage is the life expectancy of the lights, so. Seems like they always, I don't know how your LED lights work, but they don't ever last 7 years when, you know, you say they do, but I think they should, like, I don't know what that math is, Dave, but.
Yeah, that's what
I mean, we use it seasonally, you know, fall and spring primarily for,
Sometimes not used, it's harder on it.
yeah, firing them back up is usually when we run into, you know, issues in the off season, so. I know, you know, board conference, superintendent conference, there's several different lighting distributors, you know. I think Musco's one that's down there. The minimum quote I've seen for football is 185 from some of them, so Energy Harness is who we've built a relationship with the other LED lighting around the corporation. You know, they sent us some examples of, you know, fields they've done and then, you know, before and after, and I'm confident that they'll do a good job. And their business model is they do a lot of bulk purchasing up front and then distribute it. And so I know last time I talked to our sales rep, he was in Florida, you know, giving some quotes to some universities down there, but based out of here in Indianapolis. And it's the same, like I said, same company we've used for lighting throughout, probably except for these lighting. This lighting right here was MCOR as part of the ceiling project, but all the other lighting throughout the district with
And we
classrooms.
retrofitted
Yeah.
it as the lighting energy harness. is that what you said, 70,000, if it's
Yeah.
6 hours at a time, I think that's probably plenty, is 11,667 uses. If you average 6 hours of them being on each night that they're on. And I don't know how many games we play a year, not 10, and then I assume we use them some for maybe some track, a little bit, I think we use them 20 or 25 times a year. I would say we should get many, many years out of these lights.
Take a motion?
I don't think you guys heard me. So moved.
Second.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Finnegan, second by Mr. Workman, all in favor? Motion passes. Football field uplighting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Finnegan, second by Mrs. Eckler, all in favor? We're at 2 to 2. You guys making me work on my day?
Yep.
I am.
The uplighting was to help when we threw the ball up in the air, like.
See the bottom of the ball, so it's
so you
not
weren't,
hidden in the light.
like blacked out, yeah.
I'm gonna vote in favor of it. So, motion passes 3-2. Moving on to personnel resignations.
Yeah, oh, sorry. Oh,
Do we have to talk about
I was just gonna list them out real quick, so recommendation or resignations, Grayson Gidley, varsity assistant volleyball, Ashley Pickett, JV girls basketball coach, Jennifer Weaver, middle high school instructional assistant, in the Rise Room, Gary Glassburn, SRO, Misty Wilcox, middle school, high school Rise teacher, senior class sponsor and quiz bowl sponsor, Aubrey Burns is middle school, high school instructional assistant, girls wrestling head coach, and Haley Brown, as an elementary teacher.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Eckler, second by Mr. Finnegan, all in favor? Motion passes.
I think we can jump down to item D. We do have the recommendation for Jay Pritchard as a bus driver. So Jay's coming over from Logansport, lives in our district. So he's been driving a bus for several years now. I think he actually is a licensed teacher. So we had an interesting conversation, but he's hoping to drive some buses for us here this next school year.
Can you sub in between?
He was subbing for Rochester to end the year, and so, and I think he may be interested in some extracurriculars.
Because this is to replace the outgoing.
His intent is to have a route, so as of right now, yeah, one way or the other. And we're, if you noticed, Mr. Chambliss' resignation isn't on here yet, so we're still in conversation with him potentially. He's trying to figure out a schedule, maybe even sticking around as director part-time, but that's something that's down the road. I mean, that's something that'll come our way, but, yeah, I think we'll be able to keep things afloat, so.
Take a motion?
But yeah, regular, be his special ed route.
Morning,
Yeah.
just normal time
Yeah.
route, what you're talking about.
Yeah. I don't know if I call it normal, it's the one route that
But,
picks up and drops off all
Now
around
you
the
know what I
district,
mean.
yeah.
Yeah.
So moved, or stand in,
Yeah.
second.
Motion by Mr. Hudson, second by Mrs. Eckler, all in favor? Motion passes. Athletic, academic, hire recommendations.
Yeah, we've got the following, Brittany Grant as high school cheerleading coach, Tara Lane returning as head cross-country coach, Zoe Sparks, and Grace Sailors, and Laney, all recent graduates, putting in as volunteers, so, they can participate in practices next year.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Finnegan, second by Mr. Working, all in favor? Motion passes. And then next order of business, administrative team salary and definition of benefits handbook.
All right, I need to salary amounts for the elementary principal, middle high school principal, high school assistant principal. Athletic director is still on the second year of his original contract, so it's date-wise is not updated, and then, but salary increase for business manager as well. Totals are below, $500 for the elementary principal and athletic director, $3,000 for middle high school and assistant principals, and $5,000 for the business managers. We shared some regional comparison averages, trying to keep these positions competitive, moving forward.
Now, will there ever be a time where the athletic director's calendar will align with the rest of the admin, or will it always be?
That is, Dave, over the years, we've done 2 years, we've done 1 year. It's nice to have them all, so we're not staggering these, so I would think like next, we can extend a year. You can always adjust that year to offset it. And a lot of times, as soon as you get it fixed, you throw it out the window because you're changing, it's always usually it's initially a 2-year contract for administrators, so that's usually what gets that off, and that's kind of where it fell here, so.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Finnegan, second by Mr. Hudson, all in favor? Motion passes. Move on to new business. We have the elementary handbook.
So I have a few changes. Most of this is just to catch up to the new state law that's out. So the first one is on page 7 for iRead. Now that they have added that any 4th, 5th, or 6th grader who has not passed iRead must continue to take it annually until they pass or go on to 7th grade, that is why that is in there. So I added that part in, and then that the 4th through 6th graders who don't pass will come to summer school. So that was added in. On 16, Chris and I both added this. For our transfer students, one of the things, because we each year ask them to fill out information, a Google Doc to say if they're coming back or they're not, so we can kind of have a better idea. Some of them weren't doing that, so we added that we would like the non-transfer request from both currently approved and newly applied students be reviewed annually. And then also it is granted for 1 year, not to exceed the school year that they applied for. That way we have it in our policy that you will apply every year. We will evaluate, how you did this year. We have run into situations where we have expelled students who were from out of district that we are now denying, that they were gonna have to go back to their home district. So that's why that policy is in there now. On page 18, I just put in a statement that since the wireless device policy is now the state law, the bell to bell, I just put in there that we will follow the Senate Enrolled Act and then also our corporations policy. I like to have that in there even though it's redundant because it's law and it's board policy. I like to have that because part of registration, we have parents sign that they have reviewed this. So it's always beneficial if we have a question, I can say, here's your signature that you have the opportunity to review it. So more just to have that in there, if we have to have those conversations. The one thing that we did change at the elementary level is that before we would just give a warning if they had a cell phone, we'd ask them to put it away. But now their first offense, I put in there that we actually confiscate it and then we have the parents come and pick it up. So that's changed a little bit. Not a huge issue at the elementary, honestly, every so often, but it's not nearly what Carice and Christina deal with at the high school. And then the last part, the student iPad policies, I worked with Chrissy and we didn't change any policies, we simply removed some that were redundant because right before that we have our technology use. And so a lot of the iPad policies that were in were already stated. So we just cleaned up that language and took out all the redundancies that's policy that preceded this one. And that's all I have. Any questions about any of those at all?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Fagan, second by Ms. Necro, all in favor? Motion passes. High school handbook. Grace?
We've got a number of changes here. Cover page, we'll have to put new superintendent on there, whenever we get one. Pages 4 to 5, we are going to alter the time that our middle school and high school eat lunches. Essentially, they're just gonna swap times. Currently, as it stands, we have high school going to lunch first. I'll take that back. At 10:48, we have high school vocational going to lunch before they leave to get on the bus. Then high school is right after that, and then there's a small break, and then middle school eats lunch, and then our morning voc kids come back, and then they join middle school for lunch. We are swapping those times, so now it's going to be our afternoon voc kids will go to lunch at 10:48 during our warrior period. Then middle school will go to lunch, there will be a break, and then high school will have the later lunch, and then those morning voc kids will join their class to have lunch. One that we feel like that makes more sense to have them eating with their peers. And second, we have trips that we take throughout the year. Our juniors and seniors go over to Peru for a career fair. It always interferes with our high school lunchtime. Whenever field trips over to Heartland for our sophomores, it always interferes with that lunchtime. So freeing up that extra time in the morning allows us to not interfere with their mealtime as often, which we feel is a plus. We talked to staff about swapping times. They were indifferent. They saw the reasons behind it, and so they went with it. It won't change anything other than just the time of when they eat their lunch. Page 14, we discuss attendance limits and truancy. We changed the language that was shown in here to reflect what was passed through legislation. So attendance limits, if a student accumulates 10 excused absences from school during a school year, the student and a parent will be referred to the school administration for appropriate action. That was already in there. The second piece that we moved from truancy into attendance limits is absences due to disciplinary suspension will not count toward the 10-day limit. A full day's absence will occur when a student is absent 4 or more days in or periods in a day. We actually took out, there was half-day language in there, and that is not compliant with what the law states. So we ended up taking that out. And then under the truant, a student will be considered truant when the absence from school is without the knowledge and approval of the school official or parent. That was already in there. It just shows that stands alone. On page 22, we changed the verbiage for repeating a course to coincide with what is current practice and what has actually been done at the high school for a number of years now. When repeating a course, all semester grades will appear on the transcript with the highest grade counting toward GPA. There was interesting language in there about courses that are retaken and courses that were failed and whether or not that grade would show up on the transcript. All of them will show, it's just combining that language to show that any course that was taken will appear on the transcript, and then only the highest grade will count toward GPA. And then we're adding on here, beginning with the class of 2030, a grade of a B+ is the highest grade awarded for a replacement grade. We have looked at grading policies from area schools to see what they do with this. We have seen over, not necessarily last year, but in the past 5 or so years, students who maybe are at the top of the GPA GPA scale, maybe they're in top 10 and they're doing poorly in a class, they could essentially bomb that class, intentionally get a D or an F, and then retake it online and get an A. So this is to discourage them from not earning the C or the B that they are truly getting, to go toward that grade. Our policy states that in order to repeat a course, they would have had to gotten a D or an F in that course to be able to even retake it. So that is to discourage them from bombing it, then having the chance to retake it to get an A. Now the highest grade that they could get is a B+, which I feel is fair. Page 23, we added the courses that we are offering for middle schoolers at a high school credit. So PE and weights, they can take in middle school for high school credit, computing foundations, band, and choir. Page 28, code of conduct, rights and responsibilities. Oh, did we skip one? No, yeah, 24, graduation requirements, adjusting the cohort years to reflect the cohorts that are left with the old diploma, the cohorts that will be utilizing the new diploma. Page 28, code of conduct, rights and responsibilities. We changed language to be in line with legislation for personal property. So under B, students shall be provided the rules regarding searches of lockers and their contents. Lockers and other storage areas remain the property of North Miami Schools. The principal may request law enforcement officials to assist in a search. A student may be searched when there is reasonable suspicion to believe the student possesses any illegal item or an item that will cause harm to that student or any other person. So that is in line with what legislation currently states. 29, student sales. So students are, so this is to clean up language about essentially fundraising student sales. This is to say that students are allowed to sell school-managed fundraising items during the day. What we find is that students are trying to sell fundraising items for their travel softball team during the school day, or for a music boosters fundraiser that is supposed to be done outside of the school day. It just kind of compounds and increases the amount of fundraisers that are done during the day, and we would like to keep that type of fundraising to be done outside of the building. Hall passes on page 30. We will be purchasing agenda books for our students. We went away from this a while ago when we got iPads with the anticipation that our students would utilize the built-in online calendar. They don't. And our agenda books in the past were a universal way for us to track hall passes. And so we are trying to zero in on students in the classroom and keeping track of where they are throughout the day. So we are going to be purchasing those agenda books, and students are permitted 2 passes per day utilizing that book, and then failure to do so may result in disciplinary action, essentially trying to keep them in class. Page 34, the alcohol and drug use policy parameters. We are, am I not on the right thing?
I think 34 is the next one, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Oh, it's because it's on that page. So on 34, we updated language with when lewd behavior takes place. That not only could it result in suspension, expulsion, but it could also result in DCS or law enforcement involvement. So, page 37, expulsion procedure. We adjusted procedure based on legislation. Parent will be provided a notice of a right to appear at an expulsion meeting. This is more informative for that parent. A student or a student's parent who fails to request and appear at the expulsion meeting after receipt of the notice of a right to appear at an expulsion meeting forfeits all rights administratively to contest and appeal that expulsion. We didn't have that language in the handbook before, but that is a right that is awarded to them, so we wanted to add that. things that we have noticed trending, over the couple years. We're adding in there no clothing that is suggestive, has a double meaning or innuendo, or suggests inappropriate ideas. They're not permitted. Adding to visibility, we're including backs as part of. It's amazing the clothing that comes through our doors. Open backs, which can lead to potential viewing of things that are not appropriate. And then short skirts and dresses should be no shorter than mid-thigh to fingertip length with arms fully extended. A lot of managing on our end of inappropriate dress, especially as it gets warmer. It just seems the past couple years, items of clothing just kept getting shorter and shorter, and we were having to address more and more things. So I felt like if we had more of a concrete statement of this is the expectation, hopefully the students will live within that expectation. Pages 41, 42, disciplinary chart, adding things in here as we handle them in school. Adding to that chart, fireworks, flammable, explosive items was added to our behavior matrix with the recommendation for up to 10 days OSS, possible recommendation for expulsion. And then we added item about hate speech, racial comments, sexually inappropriate language, specifying those parameters and discipline. Missing or late assignments. This goes in line with what our middle school policy uses. Warning, warning, third missing assignment is an after-school detention, and so on. And then parameters on there about skip detentions resulting in a rescheduled detention, ISS, and so on. And then unexcused tardies to school or class, adding that to our matrix. 3 tardies will result in an after-school detention. 5 results in a 1-day ISS. 7 will result in a parent meeting, and 3 days ISS. Then we updated the wireless device policy. That goes in line with the legislation that was sent out. This is pretty much copied and pasted from what the Indiana School Board Association had.
Matches the policy.
It matches the
second
policy.
reading.
Yep. To a T.
Have you seen any of the meta glasses or the,
Yes.
do you have kids with those?
We had 2 students that wore them last year, and we had to tell them to not record people, essentially. They were seniors, could you imagine that? It was right after Christmas. So, but honestly, it was an issue for one day,
Yeah.
and that kind of went from there. So we'll be in line with that. Page 45, testing procedure. Okay, so this is regarding drug testing. So it just mirrors the use of our parents signing off on the handbook as that consent to drug test, but it gives parameters of who gets tested. So it says a student in grades 11 through 12 and his or her parent consent to the following parameters with a signed consent of the handbook and its policies. And then it specifically states who gets tested. And so we're very conscientious of that. When we pull students at random, we like, do they drive to school? No. Are they old enough to go to prom? No. Are they involved in activities? No. Then we don't test them. So.
How many kids did you drug test last year?
We did 4 polls. We did 10 to 40 kids, or 40 at a time. Some kids get randomly selected multiple times. It's just the draw of it. But we did 40 last year. And then page 49 to 81, much like the elementary, we updated language regarding our student iPad policies. Again, condensing it. There was redundancies in the language in there before to make it mirror universally in both buildings. Any questions?
You got them all, please, thank you.
Sorry.
Motion by Mrs. Eckerly, second by Mr. Finnegan, all in favor? Motion passes. Move on to C, school meal price increase.
Yeah, this is something we've hinted at. You know, we were able to push this off, you know, a year or so, and so, based from meeting with Stephanie Owens, our food service director, and then looking where things are and the cost of things, she's recommended these following, increases. Trina, anything you wanna add to this one?
I think the only thing that is not 10 cents is adult lunch, price that gets recommended by the state or through food service. So it went up 15 cents, and then milk did not get increased this year, and she was spending, I think, 55 cents a carton, so she asked that go up to 60 cents. So it's a 20 cents jump in that milk that, I don't remember, I asked her how much she served, it's not a lot, mostly at the middle high. So, those are the only things that are different than that 10 cents. And, you know, the expectation, we did some, you know, meals served versus what that will generate, and we think that that will make sure that we're even, maybe a little ahead next year, depending on, any increases in supplies. We're hoping that we're, you know, staying ahead of that a little bit, or at least absorbing those increases in supplies and materials.
So moved.
We don't turn anyone away that, like,
No.
we still can provide funding to pay for kids that can't eat.
We
I mean,
do, she has a really nice angel fund, and she doesn't use it a lot, but she does use that. I know her and I were talking about her ending balance, she was negative, and I think it was like $200 at maybe the elementary, and something right around that for the middle high, and several of those parents were submitting payments. So she's in really good shape, we never turn a child away, and she does have one of those funds.
So did you lose, no, I'm sorry, somebody moved, right? Jeff did, okay. So I second it.
Motion by Mr. Workey, second by Ms. Zephyr, all in favor? Motion passes. Move on to donations.
Yeah, as always, very generous community. Got the following 7 donations to approve. 6th grade fun day, $300. FFA to 2 FFA to volunteer bouncy houses. M&M athletic boosters, $100 from concessions, from the spring play. And then the following are all elementary PTO, $400, from the spring carnival incentive, $400 from the National Junior Honor Society carnival incentive to them, $150 girls soccer, $150 boys golf, and $600 to wrestling.
Take a motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Finnegan, second by Mr. Hudson, all in favor? Motion passes.
Yeah, we have the following board policies. This is the second reading, so we put these in front of you.
Fundraisers.
Oh, I skipped fundraisers, sorry, goodness.
We got one.
Cheer apparel, June 1st through June 5th from calendar donations.
So moved, sorry.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Zephyr, second by Mr. Finnegan, all in favor? Motion passes. Now board
Yeah,
policy.
sorry about that. Revisions to our board policy 4010. This is reflecting practice. This is something, you know, with the state of the IHSA, you know, changes to transferring rules, changes to personal PBA, I think is what they're calling it, NIL. You know, something I think we need to keep an eye on as a board, but currently we're reflecting language. It's IHSA compliant, a minimum of 1 class. I don't know if we had a single high schooler that fit this mold this last year. I think we had maybe a middle school or two. So, it's not real prevalent in the district, but this will at least be accurate with what we've practiced really since prior to me being here, so.
Take a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Zephyr, second by Mr. Working, all in favor? Motion passes.
And then, the second one is just expanding the definition of wireless devices and prohibiting them from being used at all throughout the day. And so this is directly correlated to what Danielle and Chris updated in the handbooks. The last time they made this change, last year when we, you know, banned them from the classroom, we allowed them during lunch and after school. It wasn't law, so that's probably the biggest difference why this is coming through policy. If they put it through law, this requires a policy update as well. The exceptions are very consistent. So, you know, if you've got a 504 and that they're even laid out that language, what qualifies. I think that was the biggest concern is our administrators were gonna have a lot of requests to meetings, but they're pretty specific on what the qualifications are, so. Obviously emergency authorization, and then any medical or, translation needs, so. I think the watches are gonna be challenging, that's probably, and those are gonna be a big,
Watches and.
yeah, those devices that communicate, so it'll, and from conversations with other districts, I felt like we tackled this head on last year, so it's not gonna be as hard maybe as other districts with making this transition this year.
Take a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Working, second by Mrs. Eckert, all in favor? Motion passes. No field trips. We'll have an exec session 4 p.m. on June 22nd in the central office. And then our next regular meeting will be July 21st in the central office. Board comments? Go ahead, Sam.
Congratulations. All I got.
Jerry, I missed your fun little updates. I was waiting, we never got there. I was bummed I missed graduation, glad to hear it went well. I had another commitment unfortunately out of town, and so, but glad school's over. Breathe for a little while, guys.
Enjoy the summer.
It's going fast already.
That's all.
Oh, don't know. It's nice to see everybody relaxed. I bet you're, that's well overdue. The graduation went well, I think. I dressed for heat, so I wasn't hot. So, can I take this chair home?
Yeah.
Nice.
They beat the wooden chairs we used to sit on downstairs there for a little while, those were uncomfortable. That probably what did your back into when you were standing, sitting on those.
And these are all leather chairs?
These are multi-purpose, we took these out of the conference room, we've got some downstairs in the library as well.
I know how the school furniture goes. These are probably $1,700 a piece.
Yeah, well, they're not cheap. They have held up well, they've got really good warranties, Jeff.
It's a nice chair.
I know we wheeled about 20 of them down to the gym for, like I said, when we hosted the Cold Porter auditions here, so I think the black tables are nice.
Yeah, the black tables are nice too.
I'll be brief. The memo finally was released by the DOE in regards to law and policy change. It's only 12 pages long. I think last year it was 65 maybe, so you may see some other policy updates over the next few months, just being compliant with that. Congratulate I missed this earlier, I wanna congratulate our baseball team this spring, first regional championship. It was a fun game. Got off to a rough start Saturday, but I think they're, showed some promise with some young kiddos and hopefully be right back at it in the future. So, that senior class has been very, very impressive athletically coming through, quite the careers for them. So, and then just one last thank you, board, staff, admin. I appreciated the 8 years here, and I think this may be the last official board meeting. We'll hopefully find some things moving forward, but that's the plan. So, but no, as an alum, it's been a privilege to come back and serve here. In conversations with others, I'm hoping I'm leaving it better than I found it 8 years ago. So it's hard to believe it's been 8 years. It's gone quick. So, so thank you.
Dave, did you do your comment?
You guys covered it all. I'm good. You take one more, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Finnegan, second by Mrs. Eckert. We are adjourned.